Good morning, everyone. I wanted to give you a quick tour of the garden, amongst the weeds, of course, but a quick tour of our community garden and what we've got growing here and what we're really excited about. Some of my traditional uses are what I really love to use the plants for. All right. So one of my favorite plants to grow in the garden is Anise hyssop. Now it doesn't have its flowers on there yet, but you're going to see pretty soon that they'll get about 2 to 3 inch pink to purple flower spikes that the hummingbirds and bees really love. It's an amazing pollinator, and it's one of my favorite, what I call a synergist for teas, so making things taste better. It also has a tendency to be a carminative, so helping for belly, tummy issues, and all sorts of woes and that. And it's also, again, an uplifting plant, so diaphoretic. So I just give you kind of the vision of it. The spacing on it, it's going to get bigger. It does drop seeds, and so it does spread, but not too aggressively. I'll show you my more aggressive ones over here. This is my little Agastache patch. So this is pretty much our tea garden. You'll see we have some volunteer Tulsi basils over here, and then we also have some Monarda kind of intermixed. We have one beautiful hibiscus plant that we, of course, are in love with and hope it produces a lot of calyxes so we can eat. And then the entire back row, it's kind of right now being a nursery bed of lemongrass, and then we'll kind of have to transplant those out pretty soon. And we're going to actually do a couple field rows of those. All right. So the Agastache is another one of those synergistic plants that I love to use. You'll see right here it's starting to flower. It gets tubular flowers, and it creates these little bushy mounds. You'll see that my garden is not weeded yet, but that's okay. In the front we have our mother of sage. It's just sage. This is our tricolor sage. One of my favorite things to use sage for at this stage, if you look at these little baby leaves, saute those in some butter, and they are just fantastic. We planted one little pineapple sage that will get ginormous and bloom in the fall, allowing us to create vinegars. A lot of the weeds you're seeing in here are actually Monarda. There's the mama plant over there, and she's generously given us a lot of other things. Now we're going to weed this probably next week. We have a couple hot days. I like to weed in the mornings, preferably, but there's a lot of rain in here, and so I don't want to weed too much. Here's another Anise hyssop, and then we have this sage, which is our Burggartner sage. I'm not sure if I'm saying that quite right, but it is one of those things. Another one of those sage plants that I love to harvest. I'll harvest a little bit now, and honestly, I'll harvest it leaf by leaf. You'll notice that we're starting to get flower blossoms coming off, so I'm waiting for this one to flower. This is about a 3-year-old plant, and it flowered a little bit last year, but we should get really good flowers this year. This is our lemon verbena. We have 2 of them in the garden, and she's going to start to flush out. Now, if you look right there, yeah, she's starting to kind of get little side shoots. She's very tall and spindly. Normally they're not. It was the only one I could get fine. //. All right, over here we call this our medicinal garden. Again, the weeds are taking over, but we have our beautiful calendula kind of sprinkled throughout. We also have some food here. So we have some lamb's quarters, which is one of my favorite substitutes for spinach as a wild green. Delicious and nutritious. It's in the quinoa family, so it gets these. It's going to get tall and get little seeds that are actually edible. Kind of a pain to do, but if you have patience, which I hope we all do, it's a really fun one. And then here we have another Tulsi. So the typical Tulsi that I grow for the shop is Tulsi Kapoor. It's a little brighter, lighter this flavor for me. It's one of my favorite nervines. And adaptogen tonics. And then this guy is, I believe, Krishna. So you're going to see it's in the base. It's same thing, basil family, square stem, or the mint family, square stem, but really soft petals. She's a really nice one. And then over here we have some self-heal. You'll see that we're going to hopefully get a big patch of self-heal for all of the needs. Self-heal is a wild plant that grows kind of everywhere, but we really love it. For just healing the skin, building up collagen. So we use it a lot in repair salves. I'm not 100% what we're going to use this for, just infused in oils. Over here we have our Sweet Annie. And so this is another one of those artemisias that I love to use for digestion, mood lifting, and it has a lot of antibacterial and viral qualities to it also. It's also an anti-parasitic, and so it helps with parasites. And then we have our St. John's wort, which won't bloom for a couple more weeks, but when it does, it'll be a glowing thing of yellow. And this is, again, a nervine tonic, a pain tonic, and has so many other uses. We've tucked in a bunch of little flowers. That's a nice little zinnia. So over here, we kind of have our flavor garden. I don't know what to call it. So this is Monarda officiosa. So you will notice that it does get a pretty significant amount of powdery mildew on it. We will cut this back as soon as it flowers, take the flowering tops and use those medicinally. Now, if I put this in my mouth, it's going to taste like oregano and just be really spicy. And anytime we have that kind of spice, we're really opening ourselves up to the like the antiviral and just kind of moving the body, creating heat. And so anytime we have heat in the body, we're going to start to move the body and make us feel better. So if we have anything going on, I like to use this actually as a spice when I'm not using it as a medicinal herb. Again, it's a great respiratory tonic or respiratory herb to help, not tonic, to really get congestion up and out. We have our little catnip here. He's kind of intermixed. I do need to bring this whole bed down to size, so to speak, is what we say. But this is our catnip right here. I wait until she flowers or is almost flowering, and then I'll harvest her. And I love her so much. Now, you're going to see. This is where it gets a little messy, a little too messy in my opinion, but that's okay. We just harvested this lemon balm yesterday for our last nerve tonic that we need to get brewing. But then look at these guys. So right here we have our milkweed flowers. These are, oh my gosh, the scent is amazing. So hummingbirds, pollinators, and then our sweet little, this is where our monarchs like to lay their eggs. And so hopefully will be a little hatching ground. But if you want to, you can always harvest, especially if it's really plentiful. I usually harvest the whole head of these and I'll drop it in some honey and make a beautiful infused honey. Or if you wanted to, I mean, the scent is pervasive and very, very sweet. So sometimes I'll just put these in a little bit of vodka too and kind of make a really fun infused cordial. I love to make what we call like the 100 flower cordial. And so I just keep grabbing flowers and adding them. Oh, look at that little sweet dandelion. Over here is our comfrey bed. So this is, it used to have other things in it, and now we just harvested this one also. You'll notice that her flowers, she's starting to flower. So this comfrey plant is so giving, and we'll continuously harvest it throughout the season when the flowers are tall. And then I'm going to actually have Joe come back in and harvest a lot of these leaves that look nice and cut back some of the leaves that don't look nice to really encourage flushing and growth. If you need some comfrey, let us know. We have plenty of babies everywhere. All right, now I'm going to take you over to our, so this is our feverfew. She just started to bloom. She is so happy. Every year I take out a huge couple plants of these guys, and I'll probably do the same thing. She spreads by seed significantly. So it's one of those plants that I don't use a ton of. I primarily use it for headaches. I feel like there's more to feverfew than I really know. But for right now, my hope is that it's bringing pollinators to the garden for us. Over here, you'll see we just cut back our motherwort again for our last nerve tincture that we've been out of stock of since the pandemic started. And so we're really trying to get back to it. But when I look at this motherwort, Leonardus cardiaca, she is one of our gifts. You're going to see she has these, it's kind of spikes. Let's see if it'll zoom in and show you. No, I'll pull it out then. Oops, sorry. She has these little spikes on her edges, and so she'll get little pink flowers. We like to harvest her when she's pink. But she'll keep growing. We'll harvest her a couple times this year. Again, a cardiotonic, meaning it's going to help ground and center the heart, and a really beautiful plant. Again, another huge feverfew. This is kind of my heart garden, I will say. And so we have a little bit of lady's mantle right here. You see how she's so happy catching those dewdrops, protecting the heart, creating that hood or that cloak when we need it. So I really love her for both her spiritual uses and her medicinal. In here I have a little bit of blue vervain, which hopefully will pop up, and then we have a little treat. I love seeing these little stars forming. This is echinacea. This is Echinacea papilla. And so I tend to use the flower petals and root, but a lot of folks use these beautiful leaves too. And that is again our echinacea. So Echinacea purpurea is one of those plants that we can use to stimulate our immune system, to really kind of push our bodies. It's also one of my favorites for deep infections, especially topical. So thinking boils and stuff that's just like stagnant. Echinacea really wants to kind of push the body to keep moving. Again, a few more calendulas. And then over here we have our bronze fennel, which is one of my favorite plants. I always encourage growth with this. So this is going to get gorgeous yellow pollen. Yes, so fennel pollen, and that's a really lovely digestive. It's one of my favorite ones to infuse into things. So a vodka or a vinegar, it just is a lovely herb. Again, another carminative, all of that. This is our clary sage. She's just getting ready to bud out. So you'll see this little garden tour versus our next garden tour where everybody is in bloom. It's pretty amazing. Over here we have our elecampane. Now elecampane is one of our deep-seated herbs, our deep lung tonic, so pulling out congestion and catarrh and really kind of moving it out of the body. It's a wonderful herb. And it's one of the favorites. You'll see, I don't think you can see it, but there's all these little ants that are going to start popping up around here as the seed heads flowers come out. She's going to be about 8 foot tall, at least. And so she'll keep reaching to the sky, which makes me so happy, and be blossoming all summer long for the most part. Here we have this softness. Look at these guys. The softness of marshmallow. She hasn't started to flower yet, but she is almost there. She really wants to. If you look right there, there's a little flower head. I harvest the leaves, the flowers, and the root of this plant. Now, primarily with this one, because it's in our garden, I'll just take a few leaves, little baby grasshoppers. So I'll take a few leaves off of these and put them into teas, just to really kind of support the body. So a lot of times, actually, when I'm using a respiratory tonic to move things out of the body, so catarrh and congestion mostly, deep congestion, such as Monarda pustulosa, I'll add a little bit of this in there to soothe the mucosal membranes. So many things to learn. I always want to give people just kind of an overview of what's going on. So this is our rosemary bush. It kind of got not killed, but definitely got hacked up a little bit in the storm. Not the late winter kind of surge. So hopefully she'll grow back. She seems pretty happy. We cut off her dead branches. This isn't the best place. She'd really prefer to be in somewhere hot and dry, kind of up against a building, and she'll do shrub-like things and well-drained soil. But this is where she is, and so there you go. Okay, over here we have our wood betony. Yes, wood betony. This is stackies. This is betony. Yeah, my brain's kind of clicking on these two. Because there's two wood betonies, or two betonies that we often talk about. One is pedicularis, which grows up in the park and is totally a different plant. And then we have this guy right here, and this is our Stachys officinalis. And so we're going to get this beautiful mound. And this one is one of my most protective herbs. It's also an amazing digestive herb, really encouraging digestion on multiple levels, and really kind of healing that gut lining also. More beautiful calendula. So basically we plant the calendula, and then we actually just harvest the flowers as they come up and put them on our drying rack. And usually we're lucky enough that they'll dry. I planted some late mullein and a lavender plant. We'll see how they do. I am on the crowding end of this garden, but 'tis what it is. We have our last garden. Well, not our last one right here. So we have another little zinnia. This is right over here is a wild clematis, or invasive is honestly clematis called bower. So it creates those beautiful white flowers that you'll see later in the summer, but it is pretty invasive. I can't actually get this one out of there. It was there before the beds came, and so there you go. But we have our mother of thyme all along here. Super happy. This one gets the most sun, and then you'll see as we kind of go on, less sun, less happiness. We have our little alpine strawberry here. I also harvest the leaves of the strawberries to make. They make a beautiful kind of lightly scented strawberry flavor, but like a very nice green tea and astringent and beautiful. I'm going to skip over a few plants. Now this one, look at her in her glory. This is our valerian. So our valerian is very happy. The scent here is amazing. She's a beautiful friend of ours. So valerian is often I use, oh, my puppy's getting frustrated with me. I often use this not for sleep. I use it a lot for anxiety. It's not my favorite sleep herb. Yes, it often can help a lot of people calm down and fall asleep, but I find there's better herbs for that. I really like this one for anxiety, that high tight anxiety. Again, valerian is one of those plants that doesn't work for everybody, so test this out on yourself before you buy a bottle. So we actually harvest the roots of this guy, but her flowers are just beautiful. We have a little bit of garden left here, and one of the fun ones that I wanted to show you is this guy over here. This is cardoon. I don't primarily use it as a food, although I probably, because we have two of them in the garden this year, I'll probably play with it. I primarily use it as a digestive bitter, a lot like artichoke, so a warming digestive bitter, really kind of encouraging digestion on so many levels. We have a little bit of variegated Solomon seal over there. Just a beautiful plant, and we'll get to it. We'll get to the weeds. Over here we have our beautiful nettle that's seeding out. So we make a lovely nettle Jamecio. I can't say that. This is it. These aren't quite ready. They're kind of in that green stage. We're going to wait till they get a little bit more mature before we harvest them. But nettle seeds are one of those so nutritious plants. High in protein and lots of energy, and just great for the body overall, supporting the kidneys and the reproductive organs. We use it a lot in men. And over here, well, we don't have much. We have a beautiful, we're going to plant calendula in here this week. We've got some more calendula from our friends over at Fireside Farms, my friends Stacy and Casey. And so we're going to fill this blad with more calendula. I had seeded it with some calendula, and I have a feeling the birds came and took a little bites. But we do have oregano here, and oregano is a great plant to grow in the gardens, and again, continuously harvest. I do want to mention that we are having a solstice fire. It'll look a little bit better. There's our turkey tails. A solstice fire here down by the river on June 19th in celebration of the season. One of my other plants that I love to mention is our spice bush, our native spice bushes right here. I see the little daddy longlegs in there. This is another one of our chai spice herby type things, but you'll see here. And I'm trying to keep you guys through the seasons. You'll see little droops starting to form, little berries. It's a wonderful plant. And then over here we have our mimosa. So our calming plant, or our happy plants. There's a little bit of honeysuckle, and then we have the river. And we have my puppy. You guys have a beautiful day. Thanks for coming and joining me on this little garden walk, river walk, and all the green blessings to you and yours. Have a beautiful day.